Imagine an Everquest server full of life, full of players, every zone, every expansion, groups available, raids available, all simply by going to the zone you want to play in the level range that you're in, and looking for a group. Now, a lot of us Everquest players these days, we're getting old, and we tell stories to any of the new players, which there really aren't too many new players, maybe our kids, but it's always like, back in my day, the servers were full, and there were plenty of groups. But if you played in the old Everquest, you know that that's not entirely true. In the same sense that people are hurry up and leveling and raiding, that happened too in old Everquest. There are plenty of times when Lucklin was out on the old Prexis server, which I don't know what it's combined into now, Prexis Wrath or something, where I had Umbral Plains all to myself. And a lot of the things that I did, maybe there was one group there, maybe there wasn't. Everybody had maxed out levels, and yes, there were more people leveling and playing alts because we had a year in between expansions, but it wasn't as good as we think it was. But what if it could be better? What if, since the technology is out there, Darkpaw, Daybreak decided to populate their servers and rank and sort their servers based not on TLP, not on live, not on what expansion they're on, but what if the servers were based on, first and foremost, how many players were on the server? What if there were servers that were lower population, maybe 1,000 or less, or capped at 1,000? What if there were servers that were fully populated, maybe 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 players, and they always had about that many players, and they would simulate real life, where even through the night times, maybe it could go from 1,000 to 500, or what if the server was population heavy for specific time zones, people in different parts of the world wanting to play EverQuest, but unable to play during the times that us in the American time zones are able to play in. I remember there were Australian guilds, European guilds, and sometimes when some of us players from the US went to second or third shift and work, we'd play with those guilds and raid with those guilds. But what if that was always the case on every server that they have, for every expansion that was released, whether TLP or not? Would you like to play on that server? Would you still like to play on that server if those characters were controlled by AI? The technology is there to inject AI characters into the world, characters that would be able to find groups, form groups, do raids, join your raid, and play pretty dang close to an average player. I'm sure AI would play a little bit better than a lot of us, so there would have to be a metric on what the AI is allowed to do. How good can it get? Is it still going to make mistakes, or is there a server where there's no mistakes made and you're playing with perfection at all times? Some people might like that. With AI these days, these characters would actually be able to carry on conversations, develop their own personalities, create their own goals. And if we think about how to control AI on the servers, say if it were to be injected or introduced, we could make a series of limits, we could make a series of systems that actually weigh into their AI. For example, let's say that we need to buy some items off the bazaar, or we are in the commons land auctioning to buy items. AI could easily detect that there are people searching for items that aren't available, and it could form groups or raids to go out and obtain or try to obtain those items, operating under the same conditions as players, and it could keep the market and economy pretty stable. We could even set up a system where we make requests of AI or resources that are missing or we wish there were more of, and AI could go out and farm it, and they would be able to set prices on make prices fairly, adjust the prices automatically to supply and demand. And in doing this, it would essentially eliminate chrono farmers, people farming to make money off the game and just leave the game in its an enjoyable state. Would you pay a subscription fee to join such a game? On a server that maybe has 1,000 players, what if there were only 300 real players and you could still play with all your friends and you could have preference to not have AI join your group? There'd be things like that. Let's say that you're trying to do a raid to get some flagging, maybe Plains of Power is out and you need to flagging, and you post into general chat looking for healers or looking for more for raid, need 2 more healers, and 2 AI clerics who play just as good as any regular player decide to join your party. Is that such a bad thing? It would also eliminate the need for botting. It would eliminate the need for boxing. I mean, it would take care of so many problems. So is this an idea worth exploring? Since we have TLPs being released with custom rule sets, should they make a TLP that has AI technology, AI characters injected into it to make sure that the server stays populated? Think of all the downtimes when it's hard to find members to raid after an expansion has been out for a little bit of time. They kind of fall off to the end of Plains of Power. Maybe some come back, they come back for Omens of War, and there's just these popular expansions, and that can kind of make or break a guild. It can kind of make or break your experience, and it makes it really hard for people to get to the end of the server life. I think I read somewhere that it takes 5 years for the average TLP to get to 5. nobody's going to play for 5 years. To this date, I don't even know of a server that's really, truly made it to the end to live with its population. Maybe a guild stuck together and made it through. Mischief is the closest thing, still being one of the most populated TLPs. It has the best chance thanks to its free trade random loot rules that everybody seems to enjoy. It's helping people stay in the game, staying caught up on the game. If you miss an expansion or so, it's not such a big deal to come in and buy some older raid items to catch back up to gear. And that seems to be a more friendly model for people that can't make it through the whole 5 years to live. But what if that whole time that someone did want to try to make it through and their guild's leaving, they can't get into a guild because it's disbanding, people are quitting, their friends are quitting? What if AI was able to fill that gap to make every server have at least some type of population going to the end where you could still find groups? And not only the rating aspect of that and trying to progress through each expansion, what if you're leveling an alt? What if there was a rule that said at a minimum there must be 30 players in Pollutal Caverns? I mean, I'm not sure how that would work with all the different picks if we need to populate those too, but just imagine that if every zone and every game had a minimum amount of players that should be there leveling. You started at level 1, maybe you're in the Field of Bone, you can get a little group going, or at least play with another player. Might be AI, but you're really not going to know the difference with boxers out there anyways. It's the same type of concept. The AI would actually be able to carry on a more intelligent conversation. Most of the players that you're going to meet would develop its own personality through interacting with players and watching things, and it might be kind of a neat experience. But just to also have the ability to group whenever you need a group and not have to power level yourself to max level or use power leveling services because AI is readily available with their characters. You could be playing over there, I keep pass, like it doesn't matter where you're playing. There's going to be a minimum number of AI characters there that will be able to join your group or help you make a group. There might come a point when AI becomes too smart and realizes that you kind of suck and they don't want you playing in the group. So maybe it becomes hard to find groups at some point when AI is looking for other AI to play, or AI is forming a back-end blacklist of what players have robbed them, trained them, and whatnot, because it's going to learn and remember probably faster than us. And you can't get a group because you screwed everybody over or you're just playing bad. That could be one of the potential problems in the future. But I mean, like I said, we could set limits with it. Like AI can only do 1 raid a week. It can only form groups, or it can't form groups. It can only join groups. Like it can't do certain things. It can do certain things. It can't farm certain times. That could be like a rule specific thing once they get AI up and running on a server. And this could be something that could be voted on, kind of like in the sense of them farming resources. They're going to be able to adjust to supply and demand. I could see potential problems where somebody wants to sit and farm items and AI is already farming them. Hopefully they let you join the group, or hopefully there's another pickup for you. But it might feel better to just see other people playing. This is a concept that wouldn't really have worked not too long ago, but with the new AI models coming out now, they really seem to be a lot smarter and a lot better at learning, where it wouldn't just be an NPC with a static routine, kind of like the old Warcraft 2 or even Warcraft 1 games where they would get stuck trying to attack and other stuff like that, where they couldn't path. AI would be smarter than all the bots we have, and probably smarter than most of the people we have playing. They would be able to adjust. If they're not making money on the bazaar selling their items, they may start to slow down or stop selling items. If they stop seeing people auctioning for want to buy, they may stop and adjust their formulas and those type of things. Would you play on an AI experimental server that had a minimum population guaranteed so that you could make it from start to finish on the expansion? Would you prefer to play on that? What are your thoughts, comments, and opinions on a new AI TLP? Would you pay the subscription? Do you think it would get rid of chrono farmers? Do you think it would get rid of boxers? How do you think AI injected characters could change the game? Do you have any suggestions for how this could work? I'm interested to know. I want to know. And if you don't much care about AI at all, I will leave you with 2 options. Click up here, you can learn how people are cheating in Everquest, and if you click over here, you can learn how to multi-box on a true box server.